Speak fluently. My name is Anna, and for the longest time, speaking English fluently felt like an impossible dream. I had spent years studying grammar, memorizing vocabulary, and even watching English movies, but when it came to actually speaking, I froze. I worried too much about making mistakes, and that fear held me back. But one day, I decided to change my approach. I realized that fluency is not about being perfect, it's about being confident, expressive, and natural. Today, I want to share everything that helped me on this journey so that you, too, can speak English fluently and comfortably. 1. Stop translating in your head. At first, I had a bad habit. I always translated everything in my head before saying it out loud. It made me slow, hesitant, and nervous. One day, I decided to break this habit. Instead of thinking in my native language first, I started forming sentences directly in English. It wasn't easy in the beginning. I would catch myself translating without even realizing it. But I started small. I described what I was doing in English. I am making coffee. The coffee smells so good. Now I'm pouring it into my cup. These simple sentences helped me stay in English mode. Another trick that helped was using set phrases. Instead of thinking about how to say something word by word, I memorized whole expressions. Phrases like "that sounds great," "I'm not sure, but I think," and "can you say that again?" made my speech smoother and more natural. 2. Think in English throughout the day. The real breakthrough came when I started thinking in English all the time. At first, I practiced with simple thoughts. When I was walking outside, I would think, "the sun is shining. That woman is wearing a red dress. I feel tired today." Then, I made it more complex. I started having imaginary conversations with myself. What would I say if someone asked me about my favorite movie? I would practice answering questions in my head, pretending I was talking to a friend. One of my favorite exercises was storytelling. If I saw something interesting, I would create a little story in English. For example, if I saw a man running with his dog, I would imagine maybe he's training for a marathon. Maybe his dog is actually the one training him. Thinking in English made speaking much easier when I actually had to talk. 3. Listen and copy native speakers. Listening to native speakers was a game changer. I noticed that they spoke with rhythm, intonation, and natural pauses that made their speech sound so effortless. So, I started copying them. I found a podcast where people talked in a natural way, and I would listen carefully. If I liked a phrase, I would pause and repeat it exactly as they said it. I paid attention to how they connected words, like how "what do you want?" sounds more like "what do you want?" In fast speech. One of my favorite techniques was shadowing. I would play a short clip and repeat the words at the same time as the speaker, trying to match their pronunciation and rhythm. At first, I felt silly, but after a few weeks, my speech became smoother and more natural. 4. Practice speaking every day, even alone. I used to think that to practice speaking, I needed a conversation partner. But I realized that I could practice alone just as effectively. Every morning, I would talk to myself while making breakfast. I would say things like, "Okay, Today I need to go to the store. What do I need to buy? Oh, right, milk, bread, and some apples. I wasn't just thinking these words, I was saying them out loud, training my mouth to form English sounds. I also started recording myself. It felt strange at first, but it helped me hear my mistakes and improve my pronunciation. I would choose a topic, talk for 1 minute, then listen and see if I could make it sound more natural. One of my biggest fears was making mistakes in front of native speakers. I thought they would judge me, but I was wrong. I remember the first time I tried to order food at a cafe. I was nervous and said, "Can I have a sandwich?" With cheese and tomato, please." The cashier smiled and said, "Sure. Do you want it toasted?" I realized that my sentence wasn't perfect, but it didn't matter. I was understood, and that was the most important thing. After that, I stopped worrying so much. I told myself, mistakes are part of learning. If I never speak, I'll never improve. Every conversation, even the awkward ones, helped me become more fluent. 6. Use simple sentences and speak clearly. Instead of saying, "I would appreciate it if you could provide me with some information regarding the event," I learned to say, "Can you tell me about the event?" Simple, direct, and natural. I also focused on speaking clearly. I used to speak too fast because I was nervous, and that made me even harder to understand. So, I practiced slowing down and pronouncing words fully. 7. Join conversations and be part of discussions. I used to avoid group conversations because I was afraid I wouldn't understand everything. But then I realized I didn't have to understand every single word to join in. If someone told a story and everyone laughed, I could say, "That sounds funny. What happened next?" If I didn't catch something, I learned to say, "Sorry, can you say that again?" Instead of just smiling and nodding. The more I participated, the easier it became. And I realized that people actually liked when I joined the conversation. They weren't judging me at all. 8. My journey to fluency. Looking back, I can see how much I have improved. I went from being afraid to speak to having natural conversations. It didn't happen overnight, but every small step added up. Fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about feeling comfortable, expressing yourself, and enjoying the process. If you keep practicing, thinking in English, and speaking every day, you will get there. So, don't wait. Start speaking today. Even if it's just talking to yourself in the mirror, every little bit helps. You've got this. Conclusion. And if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe. Keep learning, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep speaking.